countries. And the question is America going to pass the moral test? Are we just going to shrug and say, no, these people are too rich, we still want their money, we still like hanging out with them, they fund too many of the nonprofits, they fund too many of the universities and fund too many of the hospitals. And so, you know what, we're going to give them a timeout. They need to go quiet for a year or two, and then they could rehabilitate themselves? Or are we actually going to have accountability in America where they are stripped of their position, where they are investigated, and where, when crimes have happened, they're prosecuted? And that's an open question, because so far we have not seen the accountability.
Well, also the FBI, you know, for as long as I've been sort of watching what they do, they're sort of the world police. I mean, unlike other kind of national agencies, they don't just concern themselves with what's happening in America. They go after people internationally, right? It's very clear that Epstein's organization was an international operation. Even if you're trying to make the claim that he was trafficking to himself, there were other people assisting in that, right? We see in the files, Epstein was paying a guy named Daniel Syed, who's not dead yet, who to basically go scout for women, right? And those women later, they gave their passports, and later they were brought to America. So all this stuff is in the files, this international ring that was going on, whether or not you want to say he was trafficking to himself. I mean, do we even have the gumption to target that? I hate to put it so crassly, but I feel like people just want a scalp. I mean, that feels bad to say. We want justice, but even symbolic justice would be better than this, right? Which is basically, we released everything and we get nothing.
That's why I went and gave the 6 names this morning on the floor of the House. I mean, those many of those names are foreigners, but they were listed as co-conspirators. And the question is, are we going to have justice? You know, one of the survivors told me that the person who her when she was 17 happened in France, and that this person has left both France and the United States to evade the prosecution of the authorities. And so the question is just, are we going to care enough to get justice? Because you're right, it's not just justice of famous names that were caught up in all of this. There are a lot of people around the world who are caught up in these girls, and these women want justice. They don't want just a shaming of famous names. They want their accusers held accountable. Think about it. For 20, 30 years, they've seen these people accumulate wealth, fly around, escape any accountability, and they were treated as disposable, as that they didn't matter, as if they were just objects for the gratification of rich and powerful men.
Perfectly said. The final question here. What's the worst thing you've seen in these files?
I've seen some pretty sick things. I mean, just the grotesque nature of what they did to young girls. I mean, it's much worse than just. I mean, it's violent, it's ugly, it's sick, and that is just stomach churning. And then the scale of it. I don't think people understand how many of these young girls were caught up in this. And the class issue is at the core of this. That's why I said Epstein class, because a lot of these girls were working class. A lot of them didn't have fathers. They were targeted. They were preyed upon by rich and powerful people. And then they were told, don't call the police, nothing is going to happen. Don't call the FBI, nothing's going to happen. And the person who did call the FBI in 1996, she was called a liar. This is a moral reckoning for this country. It's an elite governing class that is immature, that is callow, that is reckless, that is arrogant, that is self-entitled, and that has done horrendous things. And the question is, are we just going to try to brush it aside and move on, as the president says, or are we actually going to have a moral reckoning, have a new moral vision, and be rooted in the values that built this country? And that is what's at stake.
And that's our interview. Thanks to Congressman Ro Khanna for coming on the show. If you want to support the show, you can do so at Patreon. And if you want to see all the files that have been released, even the ones that the DOJ has been removing from their own website, you can go to jmail.world. It's a website I partnered with to get the Jeffrey Epstein files to as many people as possible. I, along with Dropsite, along with a lot of people, have been urgently trying to get this in the hands of the public, and this is the site we teamed up on in order to get it done. So all those links are below. Thanks for watching.
mean, what's the problem here, Camo?